Bring the lights down low, it's time to show. Lights, camera, you know what we mean. Behold the magic of the silver screen. Some movies rock, some movies shock. They're powerful or odd. We cover them all on your favorite pod. So many movies we can't choose. Even when you win, you lose. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math. It's the 30-something movie podcast. Be excellent to each other. Peace out and word to your mother. They're from the best decades. Movie magic that never fades. Lightsabers clash, phasers set to stun. Action packed from dusk till dawn. We have deep thoughts and questions three. Come share our love of the movies we see. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math. It's the 30-something movie podcast.
It is the 30-something movie podcast. It is, for us, the last 2 weeks of the year. This is the penultimate episode of 1994.
Oh, holy Moses.
Penultimate, guys. And I think this, as dealing with a legal drama, I think this warrants us talking about movies that have great appeal. Movies that people shouldn't object to. I'm running out of legal terms.
But you did quite well,
Thank
John.
you. Thank you. I was trying to defend myself there, but
I care.
thank you. I'm glad that you do. So you can hear Pat. Pat, how are you doing?
It's glad to be back. Has it been a while?
It's
Good.
For us, yes.
All right.
Yes,
All
we,
right.
we took a couple of weeks around the Thanksgiving break and took a little time. We had several episodes in the backlog, so that gave us a little time to take a little teensy break. So for us, yes, it has been, but the time dilation has made it such that the people did not miss us.
That's cool.
They were here last week, and they'll be here again next week as well. I don't know.
It's sort of like Einstein in the DeLorean, right? He skipped over that minute to instantly arrive back in our time.
Correct. Absolutely. Skewed off into an alternate 1985. Speaking of skewing off, Bo, how are you doing?
Quite well, John. Thank you.
I don't know how.
That was a heck of a transition.
I don't know what that transition meant. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you. But
Nothing but love and admiration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Only the best for Love Fest.
Ooh, why thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now you got to pull it out every
Yeah.
once in a while and just remember what it feels like.
I feel like it's because the character in this movie is Reggie Love.
Yeah. Reggie Love.
Which is funny because the two things I thought of were either like some kind of cheesy lounge singer or somebody related to Brother Love from the old WWF wrestling.
Oh, that's funny. Excuse me.
An interesting name. So our movie this time around is The Client from 1994. Our theme this month is Won't Somebody Think of the Children? So all of our movies deal with children or teenagers being featured as the protagonists or major characters in some way. So we've got The Client, and the next week we're going to finish the year off with the next Karate Kid. So finishing off the year with a couple of fun movies, and then we will be barreling on into 1995 after that, and we've got some great stuff coming up at that point, and we'll share a little bit more about that at the end of this episode. So before we dive into things very, very quickly, we spoil, so just be warned. We spoil, like, if you've still got any Thanksgiving leftovers at this point in the year, you probably want to toss those out, because by the time this episode comes out, it's probably almost Christmas.
Yeah.
So you may want to toss out that stuffing if you still got it.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought. So we spoil, much like your stuffing has spoiled in the fridge. Make sure you visit our website, 30podcast.com, if you haven't been there in a while. I mentioned this before. I'm probably going to be toning down a little bit of some of the social media posting in certain places. So I'm looking at possibly doing a newsletter that may come out every couple of weeks or so through our website. So that's a good place to head over there. And there should be a little pop-up thing or a place where you can put in your email address so that you can get a copy of that newsletter when that gets started up.
The newsletter?
You,
Excited for
You can totally get in on the newsletter. Your copy will be special, Pat. It'll come directly to your email.
I love the way that this works. I think we should get on this email thing.
Yes, I'm going to ignore the fact that that's how it's going to work for everyone, but I want you to feel very special about it.
I am going to feel special about that one, John.
Good. I want you to feel special. So I don't think I have anything else before we get going here. Oh, one thing I will mention real fast, because we've probably got another episode coming up fairly soon. I am going to, for just a moment, I'm going to plug my other podcast,
There you are.
Podcast Full of Kryptonite. We have just finished, and I don't know if you guys had been watching the Superman and Lois show. The season and the series just finished a few days ago as of this recording, and it was phenomenal.
What? Okay.
It was, if you had not been watching this show, I highly recommend going back and watching it from the beginning. Like, there's 4 seasons, except for this season, there's about 13 episodes per season. This season was 10 episodes, but this season was phenomenal. Like, there were so many things that they did this season that if you were a comic book fan, or if there were things that you didn't care for in other versions of Superman, you would have loved this season. And the way that they ended everything, I'll just say you're going to need at least one box of tissues to bring with you to the finale. But this whole season of this show solidified that actor. The actor's name is Tyler Hoechlin. It solidified him, and the actress, Bitsy Tulloch is her name. She used to be on Grimm. It solidified them as one of my favorite Clark Kent, Superman, and Lois Lanes of any version of Superman.
Going from you, that's high praise.
Yeah, his version of Superman is phenomenal. And this show, and I feel like this season, with a couple of little exceptions here and there within episodes, I don't feel like they had any misses this season. Like, there were no episodes I would look at and go, well, that was totally filler. It was phenomenal. So if you guys have not had a chance, I would highly recommend anybody go check that out. And then once you've checked it out, if you want to listen to little old me review this final season, I had been doing it with Dee and Jason from the Shirley podcast, but they were not able to do it this year. So I kind of took this last season solo. But yeah, that whole show was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do the podcast. As long as I'm not spreading myself too thin, I'm actually planning on keeping that podcast going. And,
Nice.
And I'm going to go back, and we're going to do, most likely, we're going to have some guest hosts come in, and we're going to do kind of a retrospective of the entire series, all 4 seasons. We'll do like a 1-hour episode where we just kind of review the whole thing as a whole. And then maybe starting in February, I'm going to be a madman, and I'm going to go back through and watch through all 10 seasons of Smallville.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So if I do this, and I've built in little breaks for myself in between seasons, if I do this, I've looked at it, and I used AI to help me calculate out the schedule. If I do this and I do it weekly, if I record enough episodes to do it weekly, I will be doing that until 2029.
Oh, wow.
Buckets.
So I love talking about it, but it's probably something that I will keep going with. But the final episodes of Superman and Lois season 4 just came out over there. So if anybody is a Superman fan and you haven't gone over there just yet, go check it out, because it is a lot of fun.
Well, I'm just going to say, I love the podcast, The
Oh,
Pocket Folk Kryptonite. I think it's fantastic. I think I got through the first 2 seasons and started the third of Superman and Lois, and then just no reason of the show, no fault of the show, I just fell away from it with everything else going on. But
Yeah.
now I'm excited to watch them because I've heard that it's just been pretty phenomenal. So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to watching it.
It's good stuff. If somebody were to ask me, like, rank your favorite Superman actors and rank your favorite Lois Lane actors, I gotta maybe reconsider what my rankings would have been based on this show.
Yeah.
So no, it's
Awesome.
It's very strong. The odds of me ranking them high, it's very high. If you know, you know. Our movie this time around is The Client. This one came out on July 20th, 1994, with a rating of PG-13. Runtime of 2 hours and 1 minute. Directed by Joel, I hate everything comic accurate about Batman, Schumacher. He butchered the Batman aesthetic in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. He also did A Time to Kill. He's done some good movies. I just don't care for what he did to Batman, but it's okay. Writers were Akiva Goldsman, who did A Beautiful Mind and I Am Legend. Robert Getchell, who did Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore and Bound for Glory. Producers are Arnon Milchan, who did Pretty Woman and L.A. Confidential, and Stephen Ruther, who did Dirty Dancing and Face Off. Composer was Howard Shore, did The Silence of the Lambs and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Cinematographer was Tony Pierce Roberts, who did Room with a View and Mary Riley. Editor was Robert Brown, who did Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and JFK. Production company Warner Brothers, budget $45 million, box office $117.6 million. Flickmetrics gives it a 70 and Cinema Score bestowed upon it a B+. Susan Sarandon plays Reggie Love. She was in Thelma and Louise, Dead Man Walking. Tommy Lee joins. Yeah. Tommy Lee Jones. The problem is I was looking ahead, and the next word was going to be Roy Fultrig,
Mhm.
and the Roy mixed in with the Jones, and we got Tommy Lee Joins.
Mm-hmm.
So it's English. It's reading, left to right, top to bottom. He was in The Fugitive, No Country for Old Men. Brad Renfro, who passed in 2008, played the young boy Mark Sway. He was an apt pupil and bully. Mary Louise Parker was Diane Sway. She was in Red and the TV series Weeds. Anthony LaPaglia played Barry the Blade Moldano. He was in Without a Trace and Empire Records. Anthony Edwards was Clint Von Hooser. He was in Top Gun and ER. Ossie Davis, who passed in 2005, played Judge Harry Roosevelt. He was in Do the Right Thing and Bubba Hotep. J.T. Walsh, who passed in 1998, played Jason McThune. He was in A Few Good Men and Breakdown. William H. Macy was Dr. Greenway. He was in Fargo and the TV series Shameless. Will Patton was Sergeant Hardy. He was in Remember the Titans and Armageddon. Kim Coates was Paul Gronke. He was in Sons of Anarchy and Black Hawk Down. Bradley Whitford was Thomas Fink. He was in The West Wing and Get Out. And just reading the list of people's names that are in this movie, holy crap.
Yeah, I know. This is a case of even the small parts,
Mm-hmm.
the bit parts, even the co-stars could be headlining movies,
Oh,
right? I mean,
absolutely.
it's just, it is stacked.
This is, you look at a movie, and I'm going to pick on a movie that I do enjoy, but objectively, I think you could say one of these is good and one of these is not good. I look at a movie with such a big cast like this of just top tier people, and I'm like, Mars Attacks had a big cast of top tier people in it, and The Client had a big cast of top tier people in it. As Sesame Street taught us, one of these things is not like the other.
Mhm.
Indeed.
Now, I say that
Mhm.
with nothing but love and sometimes tolerance for Mars Attacks. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, you get a big group of people in here. I mean, it's almost, you watch almost every scene and you're like, there are no small people in any of these scenes.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Little trivia here. John Grisham had some rules about casting in his movies, and he built into his agreements that he had casting approval. And he did not want any professional Hollywood actors to play the boy, Mark Sway. He believed that he didn't want anybody who was going to be cast that was trying to put on an accent. He wanted somebody from Tennessee, from the South, that would be authentic to the part, would sound authentic. And so, I mean, originally they tried to push Macaulay Culkin for this part, and he's like, no. We need to find somebody who has not been an actor before. Like, I want somebody who's a local. I want that. So that's how they ended up finding Brad Renfro after they had, I think, gone through thousands of different actors. He felt that he had the right look, had the right accent, had the right everything for this part. And Brad Renfro was actually just 11 years old. He had no film experience before this. This was his first thing that kind of launched his acting career.
Well, there you go.
So in terms of some of the only other, I found some stuff that I thought was quirky enough that I wanted to bring it up. Do you guys know what sport Susan Sarandon is a big, huge fan of?
Cricket. I have no idea.
No. You're not too far off. If you're thinking of Tommy Lee Jones, you're not too far off.
Mm-mm.
I didn't know if you guys had heard about any of this before, but she is a big fan and actually owns a franchise of clubs and bars related to this sport.
Huh. Baseball?
No,
Rugby.
no. She is a huge fan Of ping pong.
Ping pong.
Yeah.
Like as in table tennis.
As in table tennis.
Well,
Yeah.
good for her.
She-
That's awesome.
Part owner of a chain of bars that I believe I was going to look up and see there might even be one somewhere in or near Chicago. There's Milwaukee, Toronto, Los Angeles, New York. They're called Spin. And she is a part owner of these series of bars. And she's like, ping pong. I love table tennis. And
That is so intriguing to
yeah.
me.
And she's like, I want to build a place where people can come and play ping pong and have some fun and also have a drink and hang out with friends.
Well, good for her.
So,
The more I watch these movies, the more I become a fan of Susan Sarandon.
yeah.
Like, she's pretty awesome.
I'll get it plugged in when I go upstairs.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of if you're curious about Tommy Lee Jones, his is polo.
Polo.
He's a big
Like
fan of
on
polo.
horseback polo?
On horseback polo.
All right. That guy's awesome. Everybody in this movie is awesome.
And my understanding is that he has competed in tournaments and things like that. So he's no slouch.
Yeah, man.
I believe he even I don't remember where, but he owns a polo team,
Oh, wow.
which I believe is named after, I forget what the name is, but is named after his ranch that he has in Texas. So, yeah. So, yeah, just a little fun little trivia there about a couple of the actors in this one. If you wanted to make the comic book connection, I pointed out Susan Sarandon was the villain in the Blue Beetle movie that came out a couple of years ago. And obviously Tommy Lee Jones was Two-Face in Batman Forever.
Yes.
So we have some connections there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This time, we're in a world of corruption and danger, and a young boy holds the key to a dark, dark secret. With a determined lawyer by his side, he faces off against a relentless prosecutor and deadly mob. Justice has never been this perilous.
Come in, Mark. Hi, Mark. Sit down, son.
I need a lawyer
What for?
to protect my rights.
You got nothing to hide. You don't need a lawyer.
Jerome Clifford wasn't really dead when you found him, was he, Mark?
We know you were in that car, Mark. You ever hear of obstruction of justice, Mark?
If I don't answer your questions, I could go to jail.
Maybe.
You're right. You do need a lawyer.
How many cases have you won?
More than I lost.
How much do you cost?
How much you got? Did you attempt to interrogate my client outside the presence of his mother?
No.
No, definitely not.
I need a lawyer
What for?
to protect my rights.
You boys attempted to interrogate a child outside the presence of his mother without her consent. And if I need anything from you boys, like the truth, well, I expect to get it.
I want that kid in court and on the stand mañana. You hear what I'm telling you?
They're taking me to jail!
Well done.
If you get anywhere near my client again without my permission, I'm going to sue you and the FBI for civil rights violations.
You playing big league hardball here, Miss Love.
We gotta get our hands on that child before the mob does.
Why should he talk if we can't protect him?
You talk to the feds tomorrow, I'll kill you.
Have we played enough games here?
What did Roman tell you in that car?
A man lies dead by his own hand, yet this boy remains silent.
I wasn't in that car.
You and I both know he doesn't know anything.
We need to talk to this child.
We know more about your client's actions than you do.
Sometimes being strong means asking for help.
I don't know nothing.
You've got to start telling me the truth.
I'm scared.
All right, we've broken it down into 10 major moments so you don't have to. We start off with 11-year-old Mark Sway and his younger brother Ricky. They sneak out into the woods to near their Memphis home to smoke some cigarettes that they stole from their mother. They end up witnessing mob lawyer W. Jerome Clifford, old Romy. He is attempting to commit suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning in his car. Mark tries to sabotage this attempt by removing the hose from the exhaust pipe. Clifford finds him, drags him into the car, and confesses a dark secret. That Louisiana Senator Boyd Boyette, murdered by mob enforcer Barry the Blade Maldonado, is buried in Clifford's boathouse. When Mark attempts to escape, Clifford fires a gun and then takes his own life. Mark and Ricky flee, but Ricky becomes catatonic from the trauma and ends up in the hospital. Meanwhile, Mark sees news coverage of Clifford's suicide and realizes that authorities and criminals alike will suspect him of knowing the senator's burial site. The FBI quickly concludes that Clifford likely revealed the body's location to Mark, and simultaneously, the head of the mob family that Clifford worked for orders Barry the Blade to ensure the boy's silence. Mark's family faces escalating threats from the mob and also problems with being pressured by the prosecutors as well. Seeking protection, Mark heads over to what seems to be some kind of like a food court for lawyers when he enters the one building, and every office is a different type of lawyer. And although I'm thinking there's got to be buildings like that exist.
Of course.
Like there's got to be like a marketplace of different lawyers in the building, and you go to whatever floor you need, and you go to whatever office you need, and they're all there. So he ends up finding Reggie Love. He thinks he's looking for a man and comes across Susan Sarandon, and she happens to be Regina Reggie Love. We find out a little bit later that she's a recovering alcoholic and does not have much experience in these high-profile cases. And so despite the fact that pretty much everybody else is skeptical about her, she does earn his trust, and together they are trying to fend off the ambitious U.S. Attorney Reverend Roy Foltrig, who erroneously quotes scripture when he's in the courtroom. I thought it was funny when he gets corrected by the judge. So he is there to bolster his political career and has eyes on the Louisiana governor's seat. The mob is getting impatient with Barry the Blade at this point, and they order him to move the senator's body to prevent it being discovered. Mark becomes the target of repeated intimidation and murder attempts, where they catch him in the hospital elevator, where the mob enforcer corners and threatens him. My thought is, if you're going to send somebody out publicly to try to take somebody out, maybe send somebody that doesn't have such a prominent feature like a giant mole on his forehead to go get somebody, because kind of seems like if you've got some kind of prominent physical or facial feature, people are going to notice that.
Yeah, and if you also drive around in a Corvette and like don't hide from the cameras and all that kind of stuff.
I'm not saying I'm a professional hitman.
No.
But I did stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night, so
maybe
And if you look at like some of the other movies that we see, right?
Right.
They're always like, "Oh, you saw my face. You can't see my face," and that's a big no-no. And under the radar and all that kind of stuff.
And it's not like 1994.
Right. There's cameras.
We got cameras. Mark and Reggie decide to take some matters into their own hands. They travel to New Orleans to investigate Clifford's property and confirm the location of the buried senator. Reggie does plan to use this evidence as leverage to protect Mark and his family. They have a bit of a showdown at the boathouse. When they get there, it's the same night that Maldonado and his men are attempting to exhume the body. Reggie ends up triggering a neighbor's alarm system, which causes them to have to flee. Reggie then ends up brokering a deal with Foltrig. In exchange for revealing the location, he agrees to place the Sway family in witness protection and secure some specialized medical care for Ricky. Foltrig just wants this to be over. He wants the kudos for this. He wants to move on, get it resolved, and so he accepts her terms. They finally recover the body. Mark's testimony is no longer required. The Sway family is able to enter witness protection. They get his mom set up with a job because she had been in and out of jobs before and had been fired at the beginning of the movie when her son was in the hospital because she wasn't coming to work because of all that. And we get to the end of the movie, and Mark, who has kind of, in a way, has looked at Reggie as kind of a mother figure, and she has kind of looked at him as a child that, of the children that she has, but don't want to talk to her anymore. She kind of looks at him as being a child that she could take care of in kind of a motherly, lawyery way. And so they bid each other an emotional farewell here at the end of the movie, and they part ways. Maldonado ends up getting, taken out, and Foltrig does capitalize on the media attention in this case to kind of boost his campaign for governor, but everybody is relatively safe. Well, everybody that we wanted to be safe is relatively safe here at the end of the movie as everybody kind of parts ways.
That's it.
All right. Much as we are in the Deep South, let's have some deep thoughts.
And now, Deep Thoughts.
I have an opinion on this matter.
Don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
Wow. It's very deep. Thank you.
And when was the first time you saw this movie?
Just now.
Really?
Yeah.
Same here. So this was all brand new for all of us.
Interesting.
Are you guys John Grisham fans?
I was about to ask that because I feel like I've seen
sorry.
other John Grisham movies. I've seen other John Grisham movies, but I had not seen this one.
Same.
Yes. Same here. Did you guys? I kind of fell into a thing where I read a bunch of the books, too, and the books are incredible. But I haven't read this book.
Mm-hmm. I have not read any of his books.
Oh, okay.
So I've not read the books, but I've seen a bunch of the movies, and I mean, love the movies. I mean, you've got The Firm, you've got The Pelican Brief, you've got A Time to Kill.
The book of The Firm is much better.
Is it really? Okay. Runaway Jury. I love that movie. Runaway Jury. Gene Hackman,
Yes.
John Cusack. Yeah.
Is the Runaway Jury? Is that the one with Danny DeVito? What's the one with Rainmaker?
Is that Rainmaker? Pick a movie that has "the" at the beginning of the title, and that's probably it.
Right.
Pelican Brief, The Firm.
Well, I fell into a thing in all my spare time. I should probably pick it up and read the other ones, but I got into a deal where I just read a whole bunch of his books, and they were really good. And then it was fun to kind of pick off the movies as they came out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But just really well written and fun books.
Yeah.
And stories.
Yeah. So, and I was kind of shocked. Like, I've enjoyed his other movies, like the other movies that have been made off of his books. I have not seen The Rainmaker. I have not seen The Chamber. I have not seen, what was the other one called? The Gingerbread Man. But yeah, Runaway Jury, A Time to Kill, The Pelican Brief, and The Firm. And he is, he's kind of the master of the legal political intrigue. When you look at his history, he was a lawyer. He was a member of the Mississippi House of Representatives. So he's been in the political world, he's been in the legal world, and he's a great writer. And so he has the background, he's from and lived in the South. Mississippi, I think he was born in Arkansas. So he's from that area. He gets the culture, he gets the environment of the Deep South. So having never read the book of this one, it was a lot of fun. And I have heard from folks that have read the book that they do say, obviously, in a lot of these cases, the book is much better, and the book has a lot of other things that you lose out on by having to cram it into a 2-hour movie. It seems like a silly question. I'm going to ask it anyway. Did you enjoy this movie? Maybe a better question is, did you enjoy this as much as you've enjoyed any of his other movies?
I did. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, I'll leave it at that. I like the way the themes that come out in his stories. And I find that there's some commonality where the themes always seem to be underdog taken on, a David versus Goliath type situation.
Yeah. Right?
Underdog taking on a big firm, a big company, a superior, in this case, right, legal team. The hero is very, very smart and very, very skilled, but usually inexperienced. And like you mentioned before, they're usually set in the South. And I like those themes. And I'm not going to say it becomes formulaic, because that almost sounds like I'm disparaging it, and I'm not. But I just like the themes that he puts in his books of what I mentioned. The idea of the underdog taking on the bigger force, someone that's very, very smart, even though they're not maybe experienced, they find a way to prevail. And I like his stories, and this was another one that I really enjoyed watching.
Yeah. So there was, as I was looking at the timeline of movies that have been based off of John Grisham novels, one of the things I was thinking about was, God, we had so many in the 90s. Like, the 90s was just chock full of legal thrillers, legal dramas, that kind of stuff. I don't feel like we have as many now. And I wonder why that is. Like, I'm wondering why. I mean, there's kind of it seemed like there was like a big interest in the law and, kind of a distrust of the government, because all of these books and movies, whether it's The Pelican Brief, The Firm, The Client, the whatever, there's an element to it of not just you're in legal danger, you're also actually in real physical danger. Like, there's some shadowy somebody that's willing to kill you, whether it's the mob, whether it's a deal gone bad, whether it's a corrupt politician or a corrupt corporation that was funding a corrupt politician or things like that. So I'm wondering if you guys have noticed that or thought about that. Like, we have a bunch of, and John Grisham kind of being the top dog that I think of when I think of kind of these legal thriller type books and movies. But he kind of stopped when we got to the late 90s, early 2000s. And I feel like, just in a quick glance over the last couple of days, we don't really have the legal thriller movie anymore, and we haven't for quite some time.
Yeah, I think some of it is cycles. You get a big zombie push, you get a big monster push, you get a big superhero push, you get a big lawyer push. And I think there's so much lawyer on TV now that I wonder if they just don't know what else to do.
Right.
How many, like, we've already told that story several times.
Right. Well, and actually, after this movie came out, there was the Client series TV series that looked like it started in 1995.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I wondered part of that because you have a ton of legal TV shows. You have Suits, The Good Wife, all of these legal dramas, and you continue to have all of these legal dramas. You've got Law and Order. So, yeah, I wonder if it just shifted over to TV, and did somebody somewhere decide that for the time being we'll leave that to TV and it's not going to be a movie thing anymore?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I have nothing much to add beyond what Bo said. I think it's just kind of gets cyclical.
Yeah. So what about, I mean, we kind of talked a little bit about this in the beginning and even before we started recording, that this just has an amazing amount of top tier people in this movie. And there are some just absolute great moments from all these people. Like, you get all those people in the room. You've got JT Walsh, you've got Bradley Whitford, you've got everybody, like all those guys sitting around in that scene where Mark is like, so do I need a lawyer? No, you don't need a lawyer. They're just, lawyers are, they just mess stuff up. You don't need a lawyer. And just that whole scene, all those guys sitting in there and knowing that all those guys are either big name or they're about to be big name, actors, and you're going to see them in other places. And it just is that scene in particular, I thought was kind of a fun scene when they're all sitting around in there and they're trying to convince him to talk, but he's kind of playing them a little bit because he kind of knows what they're doing. He's like, well, wait, aren't you a lawyer?
Kind of, not really.
Yeah, and I really like it because
I love that when she comes in then, and she's like, "Did you just tell him he doesn't need a lawyer?"
She knows exactly. And I find, again, that's the commonality that I find in a lot of John Grisham is that it'll be some really smart, albeit inexperienced, but very smart lawyer that's able to put the people that they're fighting against on the back foot through clever strategy, right? Shout out, by the way, is it JT Walsh? Yes. Is that the guy that was in there, the character actor that played not the New Orleans district attorney, but the other guy?
Yeah, like Thune?
Yeah, he wasn't the district attorney. What was he, the prosecutor?
Was a prosecutor of some kind.
Boy, man, every movie he's in, it was 1998 that he passed?
I believe so.
Because he was just so good in everything he does. And he fits in so well. When they need him to fill up, like 90% of the scene, he'll do the 90%. If they need to only be like a small part, he'll do the small. He is so good and brings so much to every movie he's in. And when he plays that guy, and just the way he played him is kind of like hey, he's in with the big FBI guys now. No, it wasn't but he was a FBI, wasn't he?
I'm having trouble remembering.
Whatever the heck it is, I can't remember. But he was some guy but he wasn't kind of on the top tier as all those other guys.
Yeah.
But he was kind of the wannabe. And the way he played that, and the way he would play like kissing up to them, right? And being all ingratiating and humble around them. But then when he turned and talked to someone that was beneath him, that the way that he brought that just kind of icky, manipulative character. And then the best scene is later on when he's like, all right, are we ready to go? And the Tommy Lee Jones character looks at him and says, yeah, you'll be staying here, or something like that. You stay here. Just shuts him down. Classic. But boy, that guy was fantastic. And I love the way he falls right into her trap when he's like, all we wanted to do was question the boy it was cool because like yeah, okay, the Susan Sarandon character caught him out and was just great wordplay. But if he wouldn't have made that character believable, it would have just seemed so contrived. But the way he made that character believable, equal parts arrogance and ignorance and inexperience in a movie full of just big names, he totally proves himself worthy to be there because he just absolutely landed that character. I thought, as far as what would it be, the antagonist side of the movie goes, he was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love, and we talked about, is there a movie where Susan Sarandon does not take things to like 11? And she is awesome in this movie. Like the way she plays. And I think the thing when I see her acting in movies is her performances go to 11.
Yeah.
But she doesn't look like she's taken it to 11. Like she's one of these actors that, and I think there's a small number of actors that do it, they just make it look so effortless. Like I'm not even acting. This is just me. This is how I am. And in all the parts I've ever seen her in, she does that so well. Like you look like whatever character she is, like, oh yeah, this is just, she doesn't really have to turn much on to act this part, but I would imagine she does, but she doesn't make it look like she does. One of my favorite scenes with her and Mark is when he's trying to see like how honest she is. And she's like, do you like Led Zeppelin? She's like, oh yeah, sure. I like Led Zeppelin. I bet you've never even heard of them. I bet you're just one of those like grown-ups who like pretends to like cool stuff to like get close to kids and whatever. And she starts to walk away and he's like, okay, well, fine. What's your favorite song? And she's like, Moby Dick, live version. Bitchin' drum solo.
Bitchin' drum solo.
Yeah.
Just in the different ways that she interacts with him as a kid is just, it's equal parts effortless and hilarious.
Yes. I agreed. And I just want to say it's kind of humorous to me that the 11-year-old kid is calling out an adult that's she's probably 30 something.
Right.
Ish, probably in her 30s at that point.
Yeah.
Right? She wouldn't be in her 20s, even if she was.
Oh yeah.
But telling her that, oh yeah, you're just saying you like Led Zeppelin. There's no way you could like Led Zeppelin. And it's like, no, based on when that band came out, dude. She's the prime age for being a Led.
And the kid was great for not having had any other movie acting experience. You couldn't tell.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Why is Tommy Lee Jones so awesome?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we finally got to it. Holy smokers.
And I say that, but also pointing out I just got done saying that Susan Sarandon, takes her performances to 11 and it's so effortless and it doesn't seem like she's trying to act, but she just does it and it comes very freely. Tommy Lee Jones, and I don't say this as a criticism, but Tommy Lee Jones, to me, in just what I've seen, does not have a ton of range. Like, Tommy Lee Jones is not... There are roles that you hire him for. And
right. You don't expect him to play a role. You want him for a role you've written.
You're hiring Tommy Lee Jones to be Tommy Lee Jones.
Right.
Yes. So, which is a little bit of the opposite of what I think of when I think of like Susan Sarandon in this movie, that Tommy Lee Jones is who he is and that's who you're going to get. But that doesn't really matter. Like it's just any role that he's in, whether it be hero, villain, anti-hero, whatever, crotchety, curmudgeonly old man, and Clint Eastwood, that's kind of their thing.
That is true of both of those men.
He, Clint Eastwood, and Willie Nelson. They've never been young. They basically, I feel like they've been stuck halfway through a Benjamin Button kind of thing.
There it is.
But he's so much fun. Like any movie he's in, he's so much fun to watch.
Yeah. And just seems to genuinely find what makes the character he's playing. Not all of his characters are fun, but makes them entertaining and just really able to deliver that. Like brings those aspects out.
Yeah.
because you're just so entertained. He is so good.
Going to a different character that's in this, Anthony LaPaglia, who plays Barry the Blade, also a really fun actor. I enjoyed him as the shop owner in Empire Records. He was in the TV series Without a Trace. He's been in so much stuff. And I'm trying to remember like some even earlier stuff, like back in the 90s when this was coming out. Let's see, what had he been in here? So I Married an Axe Murderer was the one of them. Actually, that may have been one of the earliest things I had seen him in. I'm looking back at his other stuff because he goes as far back as the mid-'80s. And he was in some TV shows like The Twilight Zone, Magnum P.I., stuff like that. But then as you get into the late 90s, early 2000s, and then he's in, and a lot of times playing either like a police detective kind of early on, you kind of get him into Summer of Sam movie that came out in the late 90s, Road to Perdition in the early 2000s. He was Daphne's brother in Frasier.
That's right.
No, he wasn't the brother. He was the
Daphne's brother.
Is he brother?
From Australia, right?
Yeah.
Or had that fake Australian accent?
He apparently is Australian.
Yes, he is.
So, yeah.
But Daphne's brother should not have sounded Australian.
No.
But he did because it was Frasier and nobody cared.
One of my favorite Superman stories of all time. They did an animated movie version of it, All-Star Superman. He played the voice of Lex Luthor in that one.
Nice.
But he's been in a ton of stuff, and he is also always a fun one to watch.
He was great in Without a Trace. We loved that show.
All right. Do we have anything else we want to say about The Client before we move to adjourn and head into the jury room for our 3 questions?
Yeah. Great flick. Lots of fun. Yeah. Suspense. Adventure. Great acting.
It's a fun movie that I feel like, and maybe it's just because the 3 of us hadn't seen it up until this week, but I feel like, I want to say not a lot of people know about this movie.
I would agree because it flew under my radar, and I had seen a good chunk of these Grishams. We talked about them, Firm, Pelican Reef, Runaway Jury, all of those. Mm-hmm. And I don't even remember hearing about this one. I'm curious if this was an early, late, or in the middle, and I'm wondering if that's how it flew under the radar.
You mean the movies of his books? This is towards the beginning.
Sense.
So The Firm was one of his first ones. We had The Firm and The Pelican Brief. Both came out in 93. The Client came out in 94. And then you had Time to Kill was 96. The Chamber was 96. The Rainmaker 97. Gingerbread Man 98. And Runaway Jury was 2003.
I wonder if it just got buried in The Firm and The Pelican Brief, and that's how it sort of flew under the radar.
Yeah.
How did it do at the box office?
This one did fine. It was, what was it, 117 points?
Not bad.
Yeah.
In my younger days, I may not have been drawn to the heavy drama that Susan Sarandon can bring to a role.
Right.
So maybe at that age, I didn't watch it and it didn't register, so I never really thought about going back.
Well, and I wonder at that point, you have The Firm with Tom Cruise. You have Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington in Pelican Brief.
Yeah.
You've had, is it weird to even say, I mean, those both came out in the same year. Is it weird to even say that maybe by 1994, unless it's a young, up-and-coming superstar actor, that maybe the legal thriller movie started to even get a little saturated by 94?
Could be. But then by 96, we were back, so I don't know. But I could agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I think I've seen the rest of these.
Right.
So how this one sort of slipped under, but again, 94, what were we?
13.
Yeah. 13-year-old boys aren't running to see Susan Sarandon play a lawyer.
No.
But Tom Cruise fighting the mob.
Right.
Heck.
Yeah.
And I had just read the book. Like I was excited for that movie.
Okay.
But yeah, this one sort of missed me somehow.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Well, what we're saying to the people who are listening is don't let this one miss you. Like it's
I think that's actually a good point. Like don't. It's worth the watch.
Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out.
100%.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions. It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, question number 1. Tommy Lee Jones, better as a hero or better as a villain?
Oh, John.
And I say that he's not quite a villain in this movie because the mob is the real villain in this movie. So he's not quite the villain, but you do spend kind of 2/3 of this movie viewing him as a secondary villain to the mob.
And okay, so this is part of my issue with this question.
Mm-hmm.
The Fugitive.
Mm-hmm.
Also not a villain, but is he kind of maybe? No, he's not an anti-hero.
He's an adversary.
Yeah. So that's a tough one because I love a lot of Tommy Lee Jones, but I always go back to that character.
Yeah.
I go back to The Fugitive and U.S. Marshals.
Yeah.
And obviously in U.S. Marshals, he's a hero, but in The Fugitive, antagonistic a little bit.
Yeah.
But maybe not the true bad guy. That is, for me, Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this is a tough question. Like, I want to say villain because I can see that in him, but then I want to say hero because the way he can play the darker side of a hero, I don't know.
I think for me, the answer is yes.
Thank you, Patrick, for saying what I was trying to say.
More Tommy Lee, more better?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. And the thing is, like Bo said, he's the same. It's like the way he plays the characters is the same. And what determines whether it's a good or a bad character is the actions that the character takes, which is down to the writers, right? So Tommy Lee Jones kind of, to my eyes, now I'm sure there's probably an interview where I say, well, if I'm playing a good guy, I'm doing all these things. And if I'm playing a bad guy, I'm doing, like totally negating what I'm about to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's up for him to answer this question. But in my mind, he plays the same character because, well, it's like, what they say about being like a master comedian is just deliver everything as serious as possible and let the humor do the work. That's kind of what he does, right?
Yeah.
He's able to, through body language, dialogue, the way he recites dialogue and so forth, he's able to bring out that, I don't know, it's like a classic D&D, when you pick the alignment of your character, are you principled and good, or are you evil and chaotic and all that? And then there's those middle, what do you call it? Your personality or whatever.
Chaotic goods and stuff like that. Like
exactly, to where, hey, I'm on a mission and I kind of will do almost like Machiavellian, right? I'm on a mission and it really doesn't matter how I get there. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. I mean,
that's right there. That is Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And that sums it up. And that was this character in this. And I'm trying to think of the movies that I've seen him as the bad guy. I mean,
well, so
other than being Two-Face,
Blown Away.
The thing, he was
Irish
so
Terrorist.
good. Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Although that character was a little, I don't know. That
Yeah.
wasn't my favorite performance of his.
Right. Oddly enough, and I don't know that we brought this up when we did The Fugitive last year, apparently the original villain in the earliest drafts of the Fugitive movie, the villain was going to be Gerard. Like he was going to be behind the murder of Kimball's wife.
So
that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah. And so he had extra motivation to find him because not just being a U.S. Marshal that's trying to track him down, but.
You know what, John? I think you just called the bluff of my answer, because now that you're mentioning what he played as bad guys, in those movies, the bad guys he plays are so incredibly over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like they got like a screw loose.
Is he a villain in Cobb? Would you use the word villain or just no?
Well, he kind of acted and read the material that was presented to him. I think the villains were the ones that actually changed history and med Ty Cobb a fictional character.
Sure. Yeah.
But you know what? Honestly, I might go back and say good guy Tommy Lee Jones, because you're right. Everything I thought of, I was always thinking of when he plays the good guy, where he kind of plays the amoral, do whatever it takes to accomplish whatever my mission is. But in the movies where he's the bad guy, he's usually playing someone that's like completely unhinged, that's very calculating and cruel. And I spoke incorrectly. I was saying, yeah, he plays the bad guys just like he plays the good guys. I don't think he does. And maybe the only difference is the bad guys, he plays just, they took that step further and they're out of control. And the good guys still have some semblance of control. But I'm thinking of all the characters, like, you mentioned Blown Away, and I forget the other one you mentioned. And then, he plays Two-Face and Batman. And I think I like seeing him play the good guy just because of that. He plays the good guy, but it's like shades of gray, right? He's not going to be doing evil things, but the ends definitely justify the means for what he's trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I was answering the question without really considering what are his actual bad guy roles.
Yeah.
So I just worked my way back and actually gave you an answer.
Oh, that's fine.
Amazing.
I do like him. I mean, I like him as a villain, but some of my favorite parts are where he's it's almost exactly what you said, Pat. He's the good guy, but nobody's going to call him a hero.
He's a good guy.
Right.
Cool guy.
Right. Where he's kind of like the curmudgeonly, like reluctantly good guy almost, but deep down, like way, 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 way down somewhere in the very, very depths, he does have a heart of gold. Now, it may just be a little teeny tiny nugget of gold, but, I feel like that's his character in Men in Black. Like, he's kind of he's a bit of a curmudgeon in the character of Kay. He's a bit of a curmudgeon, but at the same time, he is kind of a nurturing father figure for Will Smith's character.
Seen some stuff.
Right, he's seen some stuff, and he empathizes, but he's not going to let you see that he empathizes. I think about Samuel Gerard in The Fugitive. He puts on this air of being like this tough, kind of no-nonsense guy, but there's a few moments here and there where he kind of lets some stuff slip, and, he's a genuinely good guy. He's funny in Space Cowboys, and he's in some of the other stuff he's been in recently. I liked him as the Colonel in Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
What was he? He was Thaddeus Stevens in Lincoln. He was in one of the Jason Bourne movies. He was like the CIA director.
Yeah, I'm definitely changing my answer to good guy.
Okay.
Because I was thinking of this movie kind of as where he's the bad guy, the adversary, but he's not playing a bad guy in these movies.
Right.
So.
All right.
Yeah, I definitely had to talk that one through.
That's fine.
I got to go rewatch Captain America.
It's literally why we're here. Bo, did you give yours?
I think I'll daily double it with Pat, and I'll be like, yeah, good guy because of that he colors outside the lines, but it is a tough distinction with him.
You're going to pull a pottery wheel and say ditto.
Exactly. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay. If you've got something to say, now's the perfect time to keep it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And only Tommy Lee Jones could deliver that line.
Indeed.
What TV or movie lawyer would you want representing you?
What have I done?
Actually, that was the same question that my children asked.
See?
The one of them said, I don't need one because I would never go to jail.
Yeah, and I know which one that was.
And I'd say, well, let's pretend you've been wrongly accused then. So, wrongly accused of what? I'm like, I don't know, murder. Well, that's
all
harsh.
All I know is in the police shows, whenever they say, why do I need a lawyer? I haven't done anything wrong. That's always not a good sign. In the police procedurals, I'm no expert.
That's when you need the lawyer.
That's when you need every single character that says, well, I don't do anything wrong. Why do I need a lawyer? Yeah. No, you don't need a lawyer. Just answer the questions. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Generally, in that case, you need a lawyer. Because, I mean, I actually want to let you guys go first on this one because I have a long list of lawyers that I would like to defend me. I would assemble an all-star team, in fact, similar a la O.J. Simpson.
There it is.
But
There it is.
before I reveal my team, if you guys take any of them, I won't need to mention them. So I'll let that go.
I will say that the answers, I don't know that my daughter gave an answer.
Evading the question. She's
she
good.
was evading the question. The answer was Batman. And I was like, well, hold on. Batman's not a lawyer. He's like, doesn't matter. Batman's smart. I would use Batman. Like, well, okay. I mean, in that case, I guess you could answer Batman for anything.
That's an interesting way to look at that.
As long as you have a utility belt, you don't need a law degree.
Okay.
My answer, I kind of had a tough time narrowing this one down as well. I did tell my son, I was like, if you want a superhero to be your lawyer, just pick Daredevil, because he's an attorney. Just Matt Murdock's an attorney, so at least he's got the training and he's got the law degree. And my initial answer is Atticus Finch.
Solid.
From To Kill a Mockingbird. My backup answer is Jack McCoy from the Law and Order series.
There you go.
The Sam Watterson character.
Yep.
Excellent
I just like to hear him talk, and I like to hear him look at people in a way that says, what the heck are you thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is one of my favorite. His character, I'm blanking out on what his character's name is in The Newsroom.
My gosh, yes.
But he's the owner of the news channel. And there are times where he just walks in the newsroom, and it's kind of like this no-nonsense, like, what the heck are you people thinking?
That heart attack scene is just...
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I'm going to go Atticus Finch with backup counsel Jack McCoy from Law and Order.
There you go.
Patrick, did Monica Bellucci ever play a lawyer?
I don't know. Right. I think Sam Seaborn would have to be up there.
Oh,
Josh was a lawyer too, right?
Oh, yeah. They were all lawyers.
Yeah.
Except the president. He was an economist.
And was Leo McGarry a lawyer?
He was a political operative, and most of them are trained lawyers. They just might not actually have ever practiced.
So I don't know. I'd suppose like the West Wing guys, I would pick them. Aaron Reagan from Blue Bloods.
Oh, solid choice.
Yeah.
Pat, would you like some trivia information?
So can I put Monica Bellucci as my number one?
Can.
Mm-hmm.
Monica Bellucci went to, she studied law at the University of Perugia, which is in central Italy. And she ended up leaving. So I don't know that she fully got her law degree, but she paid for her classes by working as a model. And a friend kind of encouraged her. They're like, hey, you should do this modeling thing full time. So she did study law, but I'm not sure she ever completed it because she did leave school in 1998.
Well,
so I give you permission to use Monica Bellucci as legal counsel.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Any objections?
You know what? That's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
Dream.
Let me
which drop are you going to hit? You're going to hit them both?
I'm going to hit 3 of them. So just hold on.
Okay.
Here. Nope, not that one.
That's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
Dreamweaver.
Beautiful. Sunsets are beautiful. Newborn babies are beautiful. This is spectacular.
You get the hat trick.
Yes. I'm going to be totally distracted now for the rest of the episode. How are we missing Vinny from My Cousin Vinny? Vinny, what was his last name?
Gambini. Vincent Mr. Gambini.
That's right. Yeah, he would be
Mr.
awesome.
Mr. Gambini.
I mean,
look at how well he defended those 2 Utes.
What was it? Yeah, the Utes. Picard was never like an official lawyer, but he was in some lawyering scenes.
Lawyer Picard was definitely a thing.
There's a Lawyer Picard action figure.
Yeah. And to be honest, like if he actually got the law degree, that would be like the unfair advantage, right? Like because then he would just womp on everybody. So, yeah, Vincent Gambini, Lawyer Picard.
So I don't want to steal any of Bo's thunder, but I'm going to be disappointed.
Please do.
Oh, that's okay. I'm going to be disappointed, Bo, if you don't end up listing Philippa Louvois.
I did not.
Okay.
Right.
That's all right. I mean,
Alas.
we mentioned Lawyer Picard, so I thought.
We did. My all-star legal team. Led, of course, by the incomparable and insane Denny Crane. So Denny Crane and Alan Shore from Boston Legal.
Yeah.
Because why not? And then for Flash, Harvey Specter.
There you go.
From Suits.
Suits, yeah.
And, you know, if Michael Ross is around, why not? But keep that Louis Litt character away from me. I want to punch his ugly rat face.
Okay.
But that's my all-star legal team led by the absolutely insane Denny Crane.
There you go.
And if he doesn't say Denny Crane at least once, he's fired. Well, to say. And if you've never seen Boston Legal, people, trust me, it's worth it.
All right.
The William Shatner, James Spader stuff is just it. The best way I can describe it is if you know David E. Kelly stuff, and then take it one step further. Like he wrote these people like they were bat spit insane, and it was so good.
Yeah.
When you consider that it sort of takes place in the same universe that Boston Public took place in, like there's crossover episodes, literally the same universe.
Yeah.
Bonkers. But I loved it. And I wish there was more of it.
If you want the not so dreamy team, I did think of, I don't remember what his character's name was, but John Larroquette from Night Court.
Oh, yes.
And attorney Lionel Hutz from The Simpsons.
Lionel Hutz. And believe me, there are honorable mentions. Dan Fielding, by the way, was the character you were looking for there.
Okay.
There are honorable mentions that I did not go to. Will Truman from Will and Grace.
Yes.
Claire Huxtable.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot she was an attorney.
Gomez Adams.
Yes.
I mean,
John Larroquette when he plays the chief White House counsel in The West Wing.
Yeah. Lionel Tribby. He's amazing as Lionel Tribby. Arnie Becker, Corbin Burnson from LA Law.
Is he Lionel Tribby? Or was that the other guy?
Oh,
replaced him?
No, Tribby was Larroquette, right?
Okay.
I think.
Okay, I just couldn't remember who was what.
Yeah, see, now you have me doubting my sanity here.
No, don't let me do that.
It took
No, oh, you're right. Lionel Tribby was all. Well, no, wait. This is. Yeah, Lionel Tribby was Larroquette.
Okay.
Now I can't remember Oliver Platt's character's name, but yeah, he was the other guy.
Got it. Okay.
Both were amazing. Like, talk about another stellar legal team.
Yeah. And
then back to my question of what had I done? I mean, depending on how bad this is, do I need Saul Goodman? That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Call Saul.
I mean, if I need Saul Goodman, I'm calling Saul Goodman. Let's just all agree.
You committed murder.
No, I think murder, I go with Crazy Denny Crane still. I think if it's drugs or the mob, maybe it's Saul Goodman.
Oh, okay.
Murder, I think Denny Crane goes a long way with that crazy. I'm telling you.
All right. And then question number 3, if you had to, because there's a moment in the movie where they're talking about witness protection and he lists off some places that all start with C's and he's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we can only go to places that start with C's. If you had to enter witness protection and could only be relocated to a place in the United States that start with a C, where would you go?
Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Okay. It's a good choice.
I thought so.
So the debate we got into over dinner when this question was being asked was, do you go to, because one child was like, I'm going to go somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, like little teeny tiny town out in the middle of nowhere. And the debate that I was having was, it's probably easier to get lost in the crowd if you go to a city. If you go to a small town, everybody knows your business, everybody knows who you are. Like, it's harder to, blend in if you go to a small town. So, I mean, there's that thought is, do you go to a big city? Do you go to a small town? So yeah, where are you going?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I I have to just go on the Google and like towns and then describe what I'm looking for that start with C. I wouldn't mind disappearing. Like, I hear what you're saying, like just hiding in front of people, right? But if I had to disappear somewhere, I guess I'd want to be out, nature, someplace that I could disappear into the woods or head out on a big lake or the ocean or something like that. I think that's the direction I would go. But I haven't had a chance to fire all that into the Google machine and get like a specific city for that.
Yeah. I'm going to pick, if I had to go witness protection and I had to go somewhere, one of my thoughts was because it's very, very close to where Sharon and I went on our honeymoon, and that is in far, far northern California. There is Crescent City, California, which is right on the coast. Stay in witness protection. So that's a double C. So if we're going by category rules, then I win twice as many points. It's very close. We stayed, actually on our honeymoon, we stayed in Smith River, California, which is even further north, like almost on the Oregon border. And we stayed right on the coast, and there were these cabins that were right on the beach. Absolutely beautiful. If I have to go hide somewhere, that would be a wonderful place to go hide. So I might head that direction. Now, if I was going to pick somewhere that I know well and I knew all the places to hide, if I needed to hide, I did live for several years in Champaign, Illinois, so I could head back down to Champaign. But I feel like in a place like that, you're more likely to get spotted or
good selection.
Whatever.
Knows 100 languages. He'll blend in.
Are you kidding? He got lost in his own museum once. All right. Okay. Well, I think we've made our selections. I think if we go into witness protection, we'll be fine. As long as the grocery stores have arugula, we'll be fine.
Yes.
It's a vegetable.
I'm just wondering why it's a requirement.
From My Blue Heaven.
Oh.
'Cause remember, he's in witness protection.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's okay. I go with the deep cuts that only I remember.
Obviously, because I had nothing on that one.
I've inspired my entire family. Every time we go to the grocery store now and we end up in the produce section, my daughter, who has never seen that movie, will always ask, what's on our list? Do we need arugula? It's a vegetable. Yes, it is. Thank you, John.
That's so impressive and frightening all at the same time.
You know,
very nice.
Train them well.
You have.
They are the future.
Let them lead the world.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I that's all I got. I don't have any more Monica Bellucci Law School trivia tidbits for you.
Why not?
That was kind of cool. I think we learned a lot today. I think we could recap and what we learned today. We learned, a benefit for Pat that Monica Bellucci could be his legal counsel because she went to law school.
Yeah.
We learned that Susan Sarandon is a ping pong queen,
which is just blowing me away for some reason.
Yeah, which is really cool. And we learned that this is a fun movie and people should check it out.
Indeed.
So I feel like we've learned enough. I think it's time to go now. This is our next to last week for 1994. Next week, we finish off the year with the next Karate Kid. We finish off our Won't Someone Think of the Children month. Our Patreon this month was The War from 1994. Patreon short was Clifford from 1994. And then our regular episodes this month were Junior, Leon, The Professional, The Client was this week. Lex Karate Kid is next week. And then right on into January, our Patreon episode is Pop Culture Rundown. We're going to be talking about what was trending, what was big in 1995. So that's our Patreon to start off the year. Our Patreon short, I'm going to go check out the new Wolfman movie, which looks really fun, that is coming out in January of this next year. I'm excited for that. Hopefully around this time, I will have had the opportunity, whenever this episode comes out, there is a new Dracula movie, a new Nosferatu movie that's coming out on Christmas. So I'm planning to go see that too. So hopefully I have a very monstrous December and January, enjoying Nosferatu and the Wolfman. And then our regular episodes, when we get to 1995 next year, we're going to start the year off with Apollo 13, and then Braveheart, and then Rob Roy, and then our 10th anniversary rewatch of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Well,
then Nixon, and then we finish the month of January off with Les Miserables, the 10th anniversary concert. So it'll be a very action-packed historical beginning to 1995 and very musical by the end of it. So we end the month with a big musical number.
Get your jazz hands ready.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you, John, for scheduling us as you do. Good to see you too, Patrick.
All right. Everybody, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies. Go watch this one. And we'll see you back here next week to finish off 1994.
Bring the lights down low, it's time to show. Lights, camera, you know what we mean. Behold the magic of the silver screen. Some movies